What's going on, gamers? Welcome back to another Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom video. Today I just want to give you a brief overview of Ultra Hand and some of the other abilities and give you some tips and tricks that I've picked up as I've been playing. So basically with Ultra Hand, wherever you select, it doesn't really matter. But when you overlap it on another object, you'll see that this like goo kind of appear. And what you really want to focus on is that like golden light that makes a connection. That's the 2 points of each object that's going to be connected at. So if I drag this over here, you'll see that that point slowly is now just this corner. And if I click attach, it now is attached at the corner. If I want to remove this, some people didn't really understand how you're supposed to do this, but what you're supposed to do is click on the device or the object that you would like to remove and then move the stick left and right, kind of wiggling it back and forth until it comes loose. If you would like to rotate the object, just hold the R button, and then I recommend using the D-pad, up, down, left, right, and you can orbit it in segments. It's pretty intuitive. And again, you can see the shadow and even the connection point. So if I want to, let's say, center this, we will put it there. If I click on this hook, I can maybe upright it, spin it, orientation I would like. Let's spin it this way. And then let's put it dead in the middle here. Now we got like a little cart. It's not the best cart. It's going to be very, very lopsided, but it will work. And of course, if we ever want to try again, just grab on a point, just wiggle it, and there you go. No, Hook, come back! Come back, I wasn't done! Oh wow. Alright, the next thing I would like to show you guys is using Ultra Hand and Recall. So if you don't know about Recall, Recall basically lets you take anything that was in motion or in really any state and then reverse that state. So I could put another hook on this pole here, and if I hold down L, I can switch to Recall, and Recall instantly stops time. And if I click on this, I can rewind it not only from where it was on the actual like pole here, but even when I moved it with Ultra Hand. Because one thing that's really interesting about Recall is that it lets you recall stuff that you even moved with your Ultra Hand. And some really interesting stuff happens when you use the two together. So if you take your Ultra Hand and you grab an object that you would like to recall, you can, if you kind of just hover it here and then pull it all the way up in the air, hover it a bit, and then let go, and then you immediately rewind that. Now you've just like created a platform in the air. And this is really handy when you use the Zonai devices. So if you use a Zonai wing, you can use your Ultra Hand to like put the wing, let's say I want to put it over here, right? On this like cliff. I'm going to hover it here, raise it up, hover it a bit, drop it, and then recall it. And then I can undo it. And if I gave a little bit more leniency, I could have even gone up on the higher platform and had it raise me up a bit. But it's just wherever you put it, and forever how long you put it, it will stay in that position. So if you want to make a temporary platform to jump across, make sure you hold it like over the edge for like a little bit of time. That way you have plenty of time to jump on. And that, okay, so you're flying through the sky, right? And you're not really digging where you've been going. Well, that's where recall comes into play. Not only does it reverse where you are going and what you set up, but even if you're flying, it doesn't have to be falling objects or shot objects. You can always recall your own platform to a prior state, and you can recall it to hover from that set point, because once you recall it that amount of time, it won't be able to track any more than the currently allotted time of recall. So keep that in mind, that you can't rewind it forever, but you can use it again to give you some time to think about where you would like to go next. I'm going to try barreling over this way instead. If I don't like that, just recall it again. And maybe we can try going this way. Also, just take into account that Zonai devices do have a limit, even the gliders, unfortunately. So your glider failed. But here's a tip. If you're already gliding or falling and you don't want to plummet to your death and die, I would recommend pressing the R button. The R button lets you go freely into the skydive state and gives you more air time, so you can figure out how you want to go about landing, and if you want to try to aim for a body of water if you don't have a paraglider or other means of getting down safely. You can also press R again to dive once you find a body of water. One of the things I feel like the game doesn't tell you explicitly, so here's another tip for you. Make sure to press R when you're in the air if you would like to. Alright, you've made it to the surface. What's another tip that you can use? Well, I'm about to show you some advanced ascend tech. So basically, using what we know about Ultra Hand, you raise it up into the air and hover it for a set period of time, then let go. Use recall to recall it to that prior position. You can then run underneath the object and use ascend to go into the object. Now you're on top. And your recall will still be active. And depending on how long you hold it in the air, you can maintain that height. So if I was to do this again, but maybe hold it up in the air for a very long period of time, like a few seconds, as an example. And we let go. You recall, walk underneath the rock, we ascend, and now we have a platform for that amount of time. And I can do whatever I need to do here. I could jump off of it and use that height to gain just that much more advantage over a mountain or any obstacle that I might come into contact with. Very useful for getting over spikes or other things that block your path and there's no clear way to get around them. Alright, now you've made it farther into Hyrule, but maybe you don't know how fusion works entirely. I wanted to basically explain how the fusion system works. Whenever you fuse objects together, it's always the held weapon, and then the fused weapon is attached to the held weapon. So if I wanted a spear with a lot of reach, but I wanted maybe a little bit more reach, I would pick up the halberd and then fuse the traveler's sword on the end of it. But if I wanted to be able to swing and have a lot of like coverage, like in a wide area, I would take the sword and put the halberd on it. So we're gonna destroy this and drop this. This as well. If I pick up the traveler's sword and then I combine it with the halberd instead, now I have a really long reaching sword instead. of a extremely long-reaching spear. So remember, it's always the held item, and then the fused object is always attached to the held item. So if you wanted a torch and another torch, you would hold a torch and put another torch on it. Or if you wanted a sword with a halberd on it for extra range, you would hold the sword and then attach the halberd. Pretty simple, but can be a little bit confusing, especially for specific weapon types that you want to make. As a side note, your combos will be different depending on which base weapon you have. Your damage will be the same though, as the weapons are always stacked together. So the damage of the Traveler's Sword plus the damage of the halberd is the final damage. But some weapons, like spears, have really high DPS. So if you want higher DPS, you would use the spear and then put the Traveler's Sword on that. But if you're looking for wide range and the ability to stagger pretty easily, you'd probably go with the sword. It's all about knowing how to cater your weapon specifically for whatever you're fighting. While on the topic, I wanted to show you guys one of my favorite fusions that I found so far, and that is the minecart shield. It is basically a skateboard as it just rolls across pretty much every terrain. It works really well against along paths and like asphalt and other like concrete and stuff that you wouldn't be able to slide on normally. It gives you tons of range. Unfortunately, just like fusions, the fused weapon takes on the durability of the object on top and the underlying object on the bottom. So in the case of shields, the objects don't really have durability outside of devices, whereas the underlying shield is the durability of the minecart. So if I put the minecart on a royal shield or a higher grade shield, it would last a lot longer than this wooden shield that I have. Also, in case you didn't know, you can drop the material you would like to fuse to your weapon in your quick menu, and then immediately attach it to your weapon. Just hold up, scroll through until you see the object you would like to attach, and then click X to drop, and then immediately use fusion, and then click on whatever you would like to fuse it to. It's pretty quick. I definitely recommend that over going into your inventory and having to scroll through and find it, especially when you need it really quickly. Anyways, gamers, that's going to do it for today's Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom video. I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed or found any of this tips or tech useful, please let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video overall, be sure to leave a like and subscribe and follow for more Tears of the Kingdom videos coming very shortly. Thanks again. I hope you enjoyed.